I had just reached a point in my life where I felt like I hit a brick wall. I had grown up in ministry my whole life, and so anyone who works in ministry knows it's the volunteering, it's the giving of your time, homeschooling your kids, and after 20 years of doing that, I just started to, actually around 36, I started having a restless drive that was burning inside, that I just wanted to step away and do something different. And then on top of that, my dad, he had some medical surgeries and bills that were coming up, and I didn't have the finances that I needed to pay for his bills. And so I was thinking if I stepped away from my ministry and also the company that my husband had started, then I would have the finances to be able to help them. Also, my kids were heading into college, and so I was actually going through a midlife crisis, and I didn't even know it because I was 36. I had just reached a point in my life where actually I felt like a stuffed turkey. The rules of religion, the policies of company, and even the expectations of what family and friends wanted or thought was God's will for my life. And so my kids were heading off to college, and my dad was going through medical surgeries in India, and I didn't have the finances that I needed to help pay the bills. And so when I wanted to step out and do something different, because I had this burning restless drive in my heart to do something different than ministry and everything that I had known my whole life, all the answers I was getting, whether it was from my husband or the church mindset, it was all no, that it wasn't God's will, it wasn't right for me. And so I just hit a really big brick wall in my life at that time. Everything kind of just shut down. And I was thinking, after 20 years of giving my life to the Lord and adding this like massive contribution to the world, where does my will fit in my life at this point? And so this is what was going on before my experience. Okay, well, heaven, it's hard to describe in earth words what was conveyed to you in a spiritual format. And so the first thing I noticed about heaven is that when you're standing on that beautiful grass, you realize that all your senses are hyper, so you can see and hear and taste everything like 1,000 times better than you can here on earth. And not only that, but it's also the inner senses that are hyper. You have this amazing knowing that there is a God, there is a creator, because you're standing in this world that it's beyond logic, and it's a lot more about feeling or knowing in this other realm. And so the first thing I started realizing was, my question was, is there a God at this time? After having been a new age and after tossing God out of my life at that time, I realized that everything that was alive, including the plants, already knew that God was real. And so this was an amazing feeling to be standing on the beautiful, organic, pristine grass of heaven, and that desire to meet the person who designed this amazing garden. Okay. Well, Jesus, first of all, he's everything you expect him to be and more. And I know different people have had experiences where they see him on the throne, with royalty and power, but this experience for me, when I met the Lord, he was sitting on the hilltop, and I was able to just put my arm around his arm. He was like a father, a brother, a best friend, all wrapped up in one. At the same time, you had this amazing feeling of such holiness, and this kind of like you're stepping on holy ground when you're around him. And at the same time, he totally understands every thought you've ever had in your entire life, and he loves you no matter what you've done, no matter what your future is going to be ahead. And he was just amazing. He had such a light that came from him. It was as if you could take every star or every sun in our galaxy and put it in one package. And then that kind of light is the kind of light that is described when people have these life after death experiences or near death experiences. And it's just this light that you can't even find the words to describe, because it's so warm. It's like this X-ray love and light all together at the same time. And it's powerful. It changes you. This is part of the transformation that I experienced when just being in his presence next to him. This love light was starting to change my soul. One thing that really stood out to me was because of when I went through my divorce with my husband and leaving a company of 15 years and that whole culture and ministry that I was brought up in. I actually had an affair for 3 months before the divorce, and I'm married to him now. But during that time, I went through a lot of guilt about breaking up my family, having an affair, and just all the guilt that I kept going over and over in my mind and heart. And it really weighed on me when I was having this experience in heaven. And so after this long conversation that I had with the Lord, he moved his hand into my heart and he pulled out a soul splinter. And once he pulled that out, everything that was weighing in my heart, the gravity of our earth life and the weight of our problems and our mindsets just completely disappeared. And then he told me, he said, only the one who knows the intents of the heart can remove the splinters of the soul. And that was just like everything for me. So that was one thing. And another thing he told me was that He said, Sharon, you need to move away from the borders of religion to the bridges of revelation. And that's because whenever you move to the mountain or you climb up the ladder or you come to the bridge, you get a more aerial perspective of how God sees things. You get a higher vision of His will for your life, His vision for your life, and then you start seeing yourself as He sees you, and He sees you as perfect already. Yes, the first part of my experience was more of the personal transformation that I went through and understanding what God's will was and unconditional love and all the different layers that He explained. And then part 2 of that was also understanding that we're living in the time of the problem and the promise. And He said that only those who mark their life by kingdom principles and kingdom values will make it through the problem. So what is a principle? A principle is a fundamental truth. And knowing that Jesus Christ is the Son of God is a fundamental truth, and every part of my body and soul has experienced this truth. And He also said that we're going through the 3 phases of transition that one goes through when they're going through a midlife crisis or a major shift in their life. There's the ending, there's the wandering and the wondering or the questioning, and then there's the new beginning. So we're in that middle phase right now, and He gave me more information about that. And also He said that He's raising 3 pillars. There's the walking altars, the living sanctuaries, and the lions, and each of them have different callings. And as I go through life and meet different people, I'm realizing that I'm starting to meet them. I'm realizing that that person is called to be a walking altar. This person's with the lions. And there's amazing promises that come attached with each of these different pillars. And for those who clearly mark their life for what kingdom they stand for. We have some exciting times ahead. We have a major harvest coming up, and God is getting His people in position to be able to handle it. I'm Sharon Rogles, and I'm really excited to be sharing the vision and the visitation that I had in heaven in 2011 when my life was completely transformed. I met the Lord on the hillside. He painted pictures of my life. He pulled splinters out of my heart, and He set me back on path to reach a group of people who my life is supposed to touch. And I'm here today to be able to share that journey with you. I hope it inspires you and takes you to new places of revelation and restoration, and how the Lord knows exactly what's going on in your life. He knows you from the beginning to the end, and He has a purpose and a plan for you. And we're living in exciting times, and God is calling His pillars to stand in the gap for the weight of our times, for the mental strain and stress that people are going through. And He's calling His leaders, He's calling those who are willing to be identified with His mark from the true King, the true kingdom that He stands for. So I'm excited to be here today, and I hope that this is a blessing to you.